Welcome to the Christian Leadership and Resilience Podcast, where faith meets leadership. And resilience is more than just a mindset, it's a calling. I'm Romeo Alchar.
And I am Christina Agaibi, and we're here to guide you through real conversations that equip you to lead fearlessly, serve humbly, and rise strongly, no matter the challenges ahead.
Every episode, we dive into stories, principles, and practical tools rooted in Scripture and lived experience to help you grow as a Christian leader.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of our podcast. This time, we're going to be talking about burnout and what that could mean for our businesses, for our work, and how, as Christians, we can deal with burnout in many different arenas, including our personal lives, our professional lives, and how we can lead effectively, even if we're feeling burned out. And I'm sure we have all felt this very difficult concept from time to time when we are trying to wear so many different hats and trying to do so many different things. And we can feel a sense of, is this important? When can I take a break? How can I deal with these struggles? So, as always, we're going to be talking about these things from a resilient and Christian perspective. What do you think about all of this, Romeo?
What a big word, which is burnout. You know, we just do our best to be excellent entrepreneurs, to be doing what needs to be done at home, trying to be perfect in both worlds, but we end to be in both to sunk. And that's something we don't realize, at least at the beginning. We just realize it at the end of this situation. Burnout is something very big. And unfortunately, it is also used a lot. But there is some confusion about where to use it and when to use it. So we can give it its weight and not to be like a common word. Like it become, yeah, it's normal to have this or to be into the burnout syndrome or to be on the path to become a burned out person. That's the perception that people are going and falling into, and that they just consider that because it's so much used that they go walk into that trap, and sometimes they are even living in a denial that they don't recognize they are walking into it, even that all the symptoms that are there. And that's what sometimes, like, as a life coach, when I'm talking to my client and listening to them, I can see that obviously, and now we need to deal with the that what makes that burnout. Is it X, Y, or Z? So that's the first thing that comes into my mind when I'm talking about burnout, is how far we are taking burnout as a serious situation. That's what I will start.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think burnout can come from excessive and prolonged stress, where we're doing a lot of the same things over and over. Burnout can come emotionally, it can come physically. It's a level of exhaustion that you just can't get rid of. It makes you kind of cynical, and that it bleeds into everything that you're doing. At least that's kind of the definition from a psychological perspective. You are resentful and just angry that you're not taking a break. You have you're not doing anything new or anything that is meaningful, and you're just kind of going through the motions over and over, and it just feels like every day is a bad day, and it's just so stressful that you don't know how to get out of this situation. You don't want to do anything anymore. But even with these kinds of situations, it can truly impact the work that you have to do. It can impact your family. It can make you feel like you don't have a purpose, and it can be quite stressful. And what comes to my mind when I think about this, if we're thinking about it from a Christian perspective, is Mary and Martha. And Martha was busy about many things, doing many things, and even asked, "Why isn't Mary helping me?" And she just, went and kept going and going and going. But we are not meant to we're not machines. We can't keep going over and over again. And yes, it's a word that's used a lot, but ultimately, I think we need to find a way to balance our schedules so that we're not overwhelmed and not burned out, and most importantly, not turning cynical, which I think is a very difficult thing that can happen if we are not resting.
Exactly. You used a lot of nice words here, and I will just start from the word resting.
Hmm.
The first question when someone sits by himself is to think about it. Am I happy? Am I enjoying what I'm doing? Because that's a very essential question that we need to ask ourselves from time to time. It's reassess what we are doing in life. And what I mean by that, it's sometimes because we keep going on and on and on. We need to fill our lives with something to make us busy so we can feel those feelings about existence and we are making something in our lives, but we miss that we are not meant to work. We are meant to live, work, enjoy life, laugh, enjoy time with the family, enjoy time with the partner, enjoy time by discovering the world, the life, everything. God gave us a lot of stuff in life that we need to make balance. You know, we need just to accommodate things to our benefit, to our well being, and not to adapt our well being to X, Y, and Z. Because those factors, work, it can end like that. You know, I know people that they were doing something, then they had a tragic accident. They're not able to do it. How many person we know that had such situation? Like a pilot, he had a blood pressure issue, so now he cannot fly. So his career path changed dramatically from one thing to another. So there is solutions, but still things change. So what about what you're doing today? Is it really makes you alive or you make what you're doing alive because you're feeling aliveness? Those questions are important because it just gives us the understanding about why we are doing what we are doing, for what purpose, and is it making us happier or is just more sadness that comes or more stress and more anxiety and then I have to do this, I have to do that. And this is one part, Christine. And the other part is where I'm doing that job, that work. Is it somewhere place in a place that it's good for me? Is it positive or is it toxic?
Yeah.
Those things, we just need to take those things into consideration because that makes the whole difference in our lives.
Yeah, with burnout, people often feel a sense of detachment and loneliness, and they're just pulling away from everybody and just working, working, working. You've lost motivation. So, if you've lost community, and we know that community is really important for resilience, to build resilience skills, you need a community. Then if you've worked so hard that you've lost that community and you've detached, that is definitely a sign of burnout, but also a sign that we are not as resilient as we can be. So we definitely need to, like you're saying, increase the satisfaction in our life and then figure out how can I change my lifestyle a little bit. Does that mean I need to change my job? Do I need to work less hours? Do I need to do more things with family? Because oftentimes people are just frustrated and they pull away from everything because they've been working so much. So we should be working, yes, and work should be meaningful, yes, but not using work as a replacement for the other things that are truly meaningful in life, that bring us joy, that bring us comfort, that bring us family, that bring us relationships, because those are the things that are important. Community and having connection is really, really important. And oftentimes, if we are again wearing many, many different hats, maybe we need to get rid of some of those hats if they're causing us a sense of burnout, or our emotions are blunted a little bit, or we have a sense of hopelessness or helplessness. None of those things will help us. So the first step, I think, to recognizing how stressed we are is to really just recognize what are the important and valuable things in my life, and am I doing those things, or am I just busy, busy, busy like Martha was, and not really focusing on even Christ in her presence. She was just focusing on preparing the meal and preparing the events and preparing everything. So the first step is really recognizing. And then to reverse it, you've got to pull back on the things that are not producing much fruit or are beneficial or are making us kind of stressed all the time. So that's really, really important. We got to reframe and figure out where are the things that are meaningful truly, and where are the things that are just occupying my time and stressing me.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I would add something else also that came up into my mind in the Old Testament with Moses. So when Moses was taking on his behalf to judge every single situation that happened with the people, and that was a lot. He was getting so tired, and he was really, he was not a young man. He was like enough to feel the weight of what he's going through. And his father-in-law said, "Why you don't delegate? Why you have to take every single decision for things that can be delegated to others so they can make the judge under the values or the laws you put?" And that's where things started to be more, he was able to absorb the weight and spread it. So we need to sometimes just stop and step back a little bit. Look what's
Yes.
happening. Don't get involved until you are completely drawn into this a dark situation where you cannot find out a way back. Where it's totally your nervous system, your mental health, your body is like it will give you all the symptoms. Just step back and see, okay, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, who can also help me in doing it. Delegate and find then keep yourself for something that you can really make a decision on the situation that need your full attention. You keep these tasks or balls within your in your perimeters, so you can make the right decision and just delegate the others or get someone to help you in doing them. You don't have to wait till the last minute. You will collapse, then say, "Oh my God, no, I have." But okay, you lost your job, you lost your business, you lost your client, so it's already too late. Why
Yes.
to wait?
Yeah. The first thing that even me personally, sometimes that we neglect when we're overworked is neglecting the basic health things like an 8-hour sleep or a good healthy meal or sitting down and eating and not rushing and eating on the go. We are foregoing even the most simple things. Or some people may live on caffeine and all you're doing is just one coffee after the other. So, even the basic things of taking care of your health first and then reevaluating your priorities and saying this is the most important things right now. I have to set a boundary, certain cutoff in a certain day, for example, where after that I don't answer work calls or not answering work calls on, say, weekends, unless there's a serious, serious emergency, which doesn't happen very often. So setting boundaries is really important and taking breaks and delegating, like you're saying, but also taking breaks from technology and maybe just putting the phone on silent for a few hours so that you can kind of return back to the world and not just be hooked to your phone at all times. And the other thing I would suggest is also being more creative, doing fun activities, going to a pottery class or a painting class or something to stimulate a different creative part of your brain, but also just a different change of pace, different scenery. Go take a walk in the park or something like that. And that way you get to see the world from a different perspective rather than just sitting in front of a computer or just sitting in front of your phone and working over the same thing over and over again. Those things don't work. So start with your own health, better sleep, better food, less caffeine, those kinds of things. And then also reframe your priorities and set boundaries so that work doesn't creep into your personal life and vice versa.
That's a great approach, and I like it so much. That's why we need to start thinking about what's happening. How we're dealing with life, and is it life? Are we taken by life, or we are taking the life where we want and the way we want? And sometimes we just fill our lives with a lot of noise to just feel that, like, I fulfilled so many tasks, now I can rest, or I can go to sleep. You're already done, toasted. But I understand that we are living in a roller coaster. So there is the ups and downs, which is okay. This is normal because life is full of ups and downs. So doing that, it doesn't mean that diminish or make you like every time you go into something very tense or like it's there is a deadline, there is whatever it is. It's not like no, you don't have to do this. This gonna burn you out. This is not what burns you out. It's just the repetitive thing that you put yourself in a very powerful trend that you don't have time to breathe or even to step back a little bit or to just reflect and see what's going on.
Absolutely.
You just forget
Yeah.
about this because your mind will say, be busy, 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 that you're alive.
Mhm.
Well, let's twist it a little bit. First,
Yeah.
you are already alive, but how you are dealing with this aliveness, is it making you a better version of yourself? And I'm talking not only on the intellectual side. Are you happy? Okay. People will
Yeah.
say, and I always hear this, we have to pay the bills. I got you.
Mhm.
We are all in the situation. But some people, they're just happy with where they are and they are paying the bills, but they're not, breaking their heads into the walls. They're just living a life. It's hard.
Yeah.
Okay. We know it's not all full of roses, but they are doing it in a way that you can see their faces. It's like they are glowing, they are smiling. And some people, you ask them, I know you don't have a lot of money or belongings, but what's strange about you, you're always happy. You don't complain as much as others or like myself. That's the question that should trigger us to see what we are doing right in our lives and what we are, over exaggerating in doing it so we think we are alive.
Yes.
That's
In fact, when we talk about wellness, there is research on balancing 8 areas of our life. And the more that we balance them, the happier we will be. It isn't about possessions, it isn't about money. It is about things like it's about purpose. So, purpose in our social life, purpose in our spiritual life, in our jobs, yes, but our jobs have to be meaningful and produce enough income that you can pay those bills that you're talking about, but not so much that you're constantly chasing and never reaching a sense of happiness, because we can do that too. Constantly being on this treadmill of trying to reach somewhere, but then when is the next thing? When is the next thing? When is the next thing? And so our environment needs to be really balanced and well enough to give us a sense of peace as well. We also have to have good emotional health and refill our intellect with good content, not just the things that you see on social media or on the internet, but with good, wholesome content. And again, we've talked about the physical one a little bit ago. You're eating right, you're sleeping enough. So when you balance all those 8 areas with a sense of purpose, then you feel like you've accomplished something, you're not burned out, you have a sense of purpose, and that does not lead to burnout because you are balanced, you are purposeful, you are doing the things that are meaningful and not just constantly chasing the next thing, which can really be problematic. So, that wellness can really lead to resilience as well.
absolutely. And for me, it's like, what I would say about the burnout syndrome. I'm not talking about psychological side because I'm not the right person to make such perspective or such advice because I'm not into that domain. But as a human being that survived a lot of hardships in my life, and I've seen it with the people that, my siblings or my wife and my colleagues, friends, the first thing that I can say, just acknowledge your situation. What's going on? How far you are engaged in what you're doing? And how far you love what you do. Do you love it? Are you passionate about it? And that passion, is it motivating you to keep going or you are getting depleted? You're feeling that, not the boredness, but actually that busyness that makes you a lot engaged that you start to detach from the rest of the world. And then you're going to end by your work. And believe me, someday that work will disappear. Then what you're going to do? So if we start working like 12 hours per day, At the beginning of a career, okay, people can do that because they have the energy, they have the capacity, and they can just do it. We did it. I did it. You did it. We all did it. But
Mhm.
the 40s is going to be different. Now I can talk about the 50s. It's
I'm
totally
not quite there yet.
I'm there. I stepped into it. I can say that it's different now. I just valuing things from a different perspective. The most important part
Yes.
is to feel alive, is to feel that I'm passionate about what I'm doing. And someone was doing an interview with me recently, and she asked me about my business. I said, I don't have a business. I have a passion. I'm doing this as a passion. You might call it a business because it bring an income from it. I'm having an income, but I am passionate about it because I love what I'm doing because it just impacts others' lives. So that passion is driving me, and I'm not just taking my family out of the equation or my friends or my personal life. I'm not taking it out. I'm just acknowledging that I love what I do and I'm doing it, but I acknowledge the importance of my tribe with me and that community that I have to be part of it so I can feel the real aliveness. Because if you
Yes.
start missing that part, things gonna be very confusing and you easily can be lost between the dots and the lines and then you're gonna be stuck in a box. That's where you used to think, oh, I am in the box now and I cannot see anything outside. What's going on? That's
Yes.
when you start to to have the hint that okay, was this okay what I'm doing?
Yeah, there's so much richness in what you just said because I think it relates a lot to even gratitude. And if we recognize and are thankful for the things that we already have, and thankful for those careers that give us a sense of purpose, and thankful for the family that gives us a sense of purpose, what else do I need to keep chasing that could lead to potential burnout? And like you said, if it has a passion or a purpose, and this is why I have always studied resilience for over 25 years now, is because I'm so passionate about it. And I have so much gratitude that I've used the challenges and the difficulties in my life to challenge them even more. So I have challenged the challenge, and I have a lot of gratitude for how far things have come. And I've mindfully noticing the good. I'm paying attention to those good things, not just chasing the next thing. And I think that helps a lot with burnout as well, is having a sense of gratitude for the things that you've experienced, how they've helped you, and how they allow you to continue. So that's the ultimate goal, is to have purpose and gratitude, I think.
Sure. And also there is another example that it always trigger me because it's with Elijah. You know, Elijah at a certain time, and we know that he's one of the most powerful prophets in the whole Christian life and Jews' life. And Elijah at a certain time he wanted to die. He prayed,
Mhm.
so died. God can just take his life because he was so in fear that he wanted this to end. What does that mean? That means that even the people that we admire and we think that they are like at a higher level, they are still human beings and they can fall apart if they don't take care of
Yes.
themselves. And we cannot just keep going on and on and on. It's
Mhm.
like you don't keep your car on during the night because tomorrow you have to go fast to work, so it will be already warm. No, it will
Right.
break down, it will burn. So your engines needs to rest. You need to just
Yes.
don't overload yourself because your body, it's not meant to work 24/7.
Mhm.
Even God, he told us like, and the seventh day after creating the whole
You
world,
rested.
he rested. This is a
Exactly.
huge message. Go
Mhm.
and have a life, guys. That's what he
Yes.
said. It's literally he did it. So we can
And he
also
told Elijah to rest too. He
exactly.
told him to rest and produced some food, and,
He
that
said,
health piece. You need to eat something and you need to rest, and then you'll come back with a fresh perspective.
yeah, he sent him an angel to feed him, to nourish him.
Exactly.
So that
Exactly.
means we need to also nourish our soul, not only our pockets.
Yes.
And we shouldn't be in complete fear because fear now It's one of the essential elements that produce that burnout syndrome to be so
Mm.
dramatic, and it can destroy lives, literally. Because when people collapse, they collapse. Okay, what are you gonna do then? What?
So,
So if we are protecting our families with that much, and then we collapse, who's gonna fight back for our families? What is the contingency plan? I'm gonna have enough money. Going to the hospital now is gonna break any piggy bank you have. That's people
exactly
that
right.
just forget that things
Exactly
doesn't
right.
go by the plans. So
Hmm.
do we die to do the plan, or we plan to just have a life?
Exactly right.
It's just the perspective.
So, nourishing our families, nourishing positive emotions, nourishing gratitude, having a sense of purpose. That's what it's all about at the end of the day.
You know,
So, not just chasing the next thing.
yeah, for me, I worked a lot in different organizations during my career. And I traveled here and there. I have projects, whatever. And believe me, none of the organizations that I worked with closed when I left. Everything's
Yeah,
kept, they're still working and they're still having whatever they're having. So if you collapse now, your emails won't stop,
exactly right.
inquiries won't stop. People
Hmm.
need will always be there.
Yes,
So if you put yourself on 24/7, believe me, it's gonna be filled even it's gonna be over that. If there is 8 days per week, you're gonna have that eight full like that with tasks.
yes,
So we need to manage
exactly right.
this. We need to find out a solution, a way out. And and for God's sake, please, I beg you folks, don't go and fill yourself with so many activities at the same time. Don't make it
Exactly
like
right.
you fill your work with tasks. Then you go and I have to do this. I have to do piano. I have for my son, I have to do this football. And then the kids go into this cycle of business to fill their life.
Yep.
Sometimes we forget that what are we doing? These kids, they need to have a kid's life. They need to evolve as kids so they don't lose their childhood and make them the next Beethoven. No, it's not. Because if you go back and see what Beethoven did, it was something that we think so good in his era, but in his era, this was the kind of business that was going on. It's not like
Right.
they made some changes. We value such music and it's classic, it's beautiful. But at that time, so many like Beethoven were doing this. I didn't bring this from my own. I was sitting with a pianist and he was like, we had this talk and he explained to me that Beethoven, Mozart, and all these people, they were like normal people that era, but they just made their own touch. So they just made themselves be seen by the generations later on because it just resonated somewhere. But at the
Yeah.
epoch, it was different.
Yeah. Ultimately, it has to be about purpose. I have to be doing something that is meaningful. I have to do something that fills me and will fill others because, again, it's also about being altruistic and doing things that will be beneficial for others and being kind to others. But that's what it boils down to is not just doing something to fill the time or to fill the day or to make more funds or whatever it is. It ultimately boils down to purpose. And it is really important to savor and to slow down and to enjoy the things that you are doing, not just rush from one thing, from one hoop to the next hoop to the next hoop. Because where does it end? It's not going to end except in ill health, mentally or physically, or even spiritually. And that's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to fill yourself with good, positive things that are purposeful, and then to also give that to other people as well from your talents and your strengths. So that's the way to be resilient instead of just being burned out and constantly working. Changing your lifestyle so that you can savor and enjoy the things and the gifts that God has given us. So I hope our audience has learned to kind of do that a little bit as well.
I will add one more thing just to it's very important to notice if we are working in a good, positive environment or a toxic one. You know, out there, when you live long enough, you will see that there are teachers or mentors or bosses or managers that lead with their spirits. They lead with care, with love, they listen, and they give you the space for the teams to just, you know, do mistakes. And they nourish them to lead their lives and to move on and to grow. Some places, not like that. Some people just grow on others. And that's where we need to be careful because it's not the job doesn't kill, it's the people that push the people over the edge. It's like a vampire sucking your blood so he can feed
Mhm.
himself. It's not like he wants to live, he wants to nourish himself, but he's gonna suck
Yes.
your blood literally and you're gonna die.
Mhm.
So that's the problem if we go in the work environment. If your work environment is not bringing joy to you, you have to start thinking
Yes.
what's going on.
Yes.
Why I'm not happy? Why when I come back home I'm depleted? Why my morning instead of starting with a smile, I have to look behind my shoulder who is behind me? That's not a
Yes.
way to be any good. It's not a healthy environment.
And
And
those people are not noticing your strengths. They're just, like you said, just taking, 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 and
yeah,
they're not using or recognizing your strengths because they would lean on those strengths, which again would not lead to burnout. But if they're just taking, taking, they're not paying attention to your strengths at all. They're
yeah,
just using what's for their benefit and leaving the rest. And as you said, when you collapse because of something like that, they're not going to care. They're just going to move on.
exactly. Because
Yeah.
another one will fill the hole. That's all.
Yep.
So if this
Exactly
is
right.
situation, so ask yourself, why I'm doing that job in that place? If you like your
Yeah.
job, but you feel depleted, change the location. We are in a very
Exactly.
huge, big country, and
Exactly.
people live isolated in their homes. So you can easily shift your island from one place to another for the sake of, protecting yourself and your well-being and your mental health and your family. Because when you collapse behind the burnout, your family will collapse with you, and you're gonna make more damage more than you think. Just protect your family by protecting yourself. Have faith in God. Whenever you are in these dark moments, ask His advice. Go to the priest, go to the pastor, ask them. There is people that loves you and they care and they will give you an unconditional advice just
Yes.
because
Go
they
where your
know.
strengths are celebrated.
Exactly,
Go
because
where your strengths are celebrated. Yeah.
they know that we are worthy in the eyes of God. So don't
Absolutely.
put them on the shelf. They are not decoration. They are doing their mission with love. And whenever you approach them, they will tell you. Again, if they don't, move. Don't be stuck where you are because
Yes.
life is so big. This country is so big. This world is so big and it has a lot to give. Just we have to go
Yes.
and grab it. So
Yes.
don't feel isolated that that's the only job I will have. That's where like I'm safe.
Exactly.
What do you mean by safe? So yeah, we need just to think about if that job we are doing, how much is it rewarding, not only financially, but also mentally and spiritually, and by all means, giving us joy or giving us really hard times. That's when you start
Exactly
to
right.
think about what we should do.
Yes. So this been a lovely conversation of trying to figure out how to keep away from burnout and instead have a life of purpose, a life using our God-given strengths and talents that he gave us to fill our lives with goodness and also to fill the lives of others with goodness and gratitude and encouragement and support. And ultimately that's what leadership is all about. It is not about taking only, but to give to others through our God given talents and using those talents wisely so that we don't overwork and we don't overburden ourselves and burn out in the process. Ultimately, we are meant to serve a purpose and then also to serve others and to serve God, of course, first and foremost. So, in those ways, if we follow that, we will be resilient and we will not burn out. So, this has been a lovely conversation, Romeo. We're discussing different ways to not burn out by using our God given strengths and talents to praise God, of course, but also to fill our lives with good, purposeful things, and then to have gratitude and serve others in the same way.
Remember, as leaders, we first have to lead our lives. And whenever you feel the joy and the happiness in what you're doing and the responsibility without burning yourself out, that means you are a good leader. And then you will be 100% leading others to nourish their souls first, then their skills and businesses. So you can just move on in your life with some joy instead of just burning yourself out by accomplishing something that will never end. It will keep going on and on and on, even when you move out. So take care of yourself, of your well-being. Take care of your family because that time is so precious. Take care of yourself. Live and have love to what you're doing so you can just live ever after.
Absolutely. What great advice. And until next time, this has been a wonderful conversation on burnout and how to get out of burnout resiliently. So go forth and be resilient. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on the Christian Leadership and Resilience podcast.
If this episode has encouraged you, share it with your friends, leave a review, and stay connected with us on social media.
Next time, we'll dive into another topic that will boost your resilient leadership. Until then,
lead fearlessly,
serve humbly.
and rise strongly in faith.
God bless.